Good morning. Good morning. I beat it. It's 7:59. I'm about 4 or 5 seconds before and 8 o'clock. All right, Thursday, January 16th. What is going on, everybody? Thank you very much for tuning in. Welcome to the Sleeper Show. We got a good show today. We got a lot going on today. By the way, even if I didn't have a lot going on today, I'd probably tell you that I had a lot going on today. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for being a part of the show. You guys can see all the topics to my I don't even know that it's my right, your left. I never figure that out. We got a lot to get into. I'm definitely going to enjoy today's show. Let me think about it here for a quick second. So yesterday, did not do a live show. I put up the podcast with Marcellus, Wiley, so I hope you guys enjoyed that. So it's nice to get back to doing a live show. Had a show last night, obviously after the Lakers took on the Miami Heat. So talked a little Lakers there, and we'll hit. Today's going to be probably very heavy NBA centric. Good morning. Grab your cup of coffee. This is not a brew that I usually have, and I got to be honest, what I'm trying to figure out right now. Does this have enough caffeine in it? I'm going to find out. I'll find out if it has enough caffeine. But cheers to you, whatever you're drinking this morning. Hopefully you guys are off to a good start to your day. Quote of the day. Quote this morning here. Uncage your heart. Free your heart. Let it be wild. Uncage your heart. Free your heart. Let it be wild. All right, that's a quote today. By the way, I caught that. I don't know how the hell I caught that. It just literally fell right back in my hand. All right, let me give everyone a quick preview of what we got going on for today's show. Thank you very much for this right here. This. Good morning from Tijuana. Hey, thank you. Appreciate you being here. Good morning from Portland, Oregon. All right. Hey, thanks for being here. I had no idea people were just going to start telling me where they're at. I'm here for the Sliwa Coffee influencer era. Really, what I got to do is I just got to come up with my own, brand of coffee, and then I'll just start rocking all my own stuff. But for now, right now, we're just rocking some local businesses. All right, quick rundown what we got going on for the show here this morning. Lakers over the Heat last night. We're going to spend a little time talking about the game. If you were tuned in last night to the post-game show, awesome, great. I appreciate it. But if you weren't, we'll spend some time kind of getting into some deeper topics here. Kind of a weird team. Got to be honest with everybody. It's so kind of odd watching this team right now. The first half versus the second half, why this team looks just so much different on a night in, night out basis. So spend a little time on some of the inconsistencies. I've been getting a lot of comments, a lot of people going at Austin Reaves over these last couple of weeks. I thought last night was as good as probably you're going to get a version of Austin Reaves. Lakers are asking him to play a bigger role than probably he's capable of. So we'll spend some time on Austin Reaves. A couple different topics on LeBron. There were a few things that came out of yesterday. Bron talking a little bit about how he's been off because of the fires. He's been evacuated. His family's been staying in a hotel. I got actually a couple things around that I want to get into. Bill Plaschke had something this morning that I saw, kind of a car ride back to his home out in Altadena. His home stood, and I got my own personal thoughts on everything that's been going on in LA, and to just kind of pretend like that's all not happening is disingenuous. So I do think it's definitely having an effect on some of these Laker players. There was 5 trades that the NBA, that ESPN was making that could shift the entire NBA. So I want to go through a couple of those because I thought they were interesting. Kind of surprisingly, to be honest with you, Lakers were in none of those. And usually Lakers are always in those, because if the Lakers are in them, then I think then it's just kind of very natural here that people will click on it because it's the Lakers. So we'll spend some time on that. And then today we'll do Ask Slee, because we didn't do Slee last week. Ask Slee last week. So end of the show, if you got any questions for me, it could be about anything. I'll try to get into them. So some Ask Slee at the end. All right. Before we get the show started, I do want to say this. If you guys can subscribe to the channel here real quick, I would appreciate that. Let me actually just take a quick live look here. I know we were creeping in on 28,000. Did we get to 20? We're at 28. All right. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you guys. Yeah, I think yesterday when I was doing wow, we're 28 on the dot. Literally 28,000. So thank you for supporting the channel. Thank you for supporting um, kind of my journey on this independent space. I know I'm enjoying doing it, and hopefully you guys are enjoying it as well. Before I get into the actual show, I will say this: if you guys didn't get a chance yesterday, and we could spend a little bit of time on this as well here before or as we get the show started. Um, Yesterday I had a chance. We recorded it actually on Tuesday, and then I posted it Wednesday morning at 8 a.m. I got a chance to talk to Marcellus Wiley. So, man, I had a lot of curiosity of having a conversation with Marcellus about what he's doing in the space. And I think the thing that came out, there were a couple things that came out in that conversation. And we really didn't get much into sports. We weren't breaking down, NFL games this weekend or the Clippers versus the Lakers. You guys know that he's a Clippers fan. We weren't doing any of that stuff. It was just basically a conversation about his journey, 2 years now. He's closing in on 2 years that he's been on YouTube. Kind of, did he see himself taking the angle that he's got a very interesting channel because instead of him breaking down NFL players or breaking down, NBA games, no. He's breaking down Stephen A. Smith, Shannon Sharp, um, the allegations that are going on at Fox Sports. I mean, his angle of what he's breaking down the people that break it down. But I love the conversation with him because it sounds like what he's doing, it's genuinely what he wants to do. He talked about how it's just for his lifestyle, this is kind of where he is, and he's running his own business and doing his own thing. But the thing that it's kind of funny, of all the things that I took from that conversation with him, what I wanted to talk most about with him is his time with Kellerman, with Max Kellerman, doing the Max and Marcellus show. I was obviously at 710 ESPN when that show was going on. And I had a really good relationship with both of these guys, more from a business perspective. And I thought at the end when he said, "Oh no, we're definitely going to link up at some point, probably not in 2025, but maybe in 2026." Him and Max. I don't know how you guys feel about that. I mean, most of the comments that I was reading yesterday and reading this morning, there was a lot of love for that show. Can you imagine those two on an independent space where they could do whatever the hell they want? They would demolish it. I know Max is, out in on the East Coast, still in New York. Obviously, Marcellus is out here on the West Coast. But yeah, that was one of my main takeaways, was just kind of listening to him first talk about the chemistry that show has had together, number one, and number two, that they could potentially link back up at some point in the future. They should. We'll see what eventually happens. But big fan of both of those guys, and shout out to Marcellus. If you guys didn't get a chance to go listen to that interview, I think you guys will enjoy it. Just kind of a genuine conversation between two guys that got a lot of respect for each other. All right, let's take a quick look here before we get started, and then we'll get started. All right, let's see what we got. Marcellus, nice when he's not force feeding the flippers down our throat. Okay, all right. Did you guys see? I'll get into it a little bit later. Did you see how much the Clippers won by yesterday? Won by 59. I think Clippers, if they don't have a better record than the Lakers, then they have the exact same record as the Lakers. So it's not like, to be honest with you, I'm a little surprised. They missed Kawhi for as long as they did. And then, yeah, they got half a game better than the Lakers. They're going to be playing each other here pretty soon. But I'm surprised that the Clippers are doing what they're doing. All right, a couple more comments, and when we get the show started, we'll talk a little bit about yesterday's game and go from there. What do we got here? Okay, I think we're ready. I think we're ready to get the show started. Okay, so Lakers last night. Lakers last night. Yep, a couple people here just talking about Max and Marcellus here real quick. Okay, let's keep things rolling here. Lakers last night get a win. They beat Miami. And, it's funny. When I started doing the post-game show yesterday, kind of an interesting feeling of how to feel about the Lakers right now. Listen, if they'd have lost yesterday to Miami, who's basically a 500 team. I mean, it's not like Miami on a night in, night out basis is representing the Eastern Conference and saying, hey, that's the squad everybody's got to run through. Now, Miami has done a phenomenal job. Obviously, that organization has figured out a way to just every single year be in the mix or be a headache or surprise everybody and get to the NBA Finals. But I don't think anybody's looking at Miami this year, especially with their situation. Jimmy Butler, I'm going to just assume, is going to be traded by the time the trade deadline comes, February 6th. And if he's not traded, then that just means the Miami Heat's front office decided, all right, well, we didn't get what we wanted, and we're not going to rush through it. And we don't care if Jimmy Butler wants to walk or go somewhere else or whatever the case is. But I think most likely, because Jimmy Butler does have some leverage, he'll be gone by February 6th. With that in mind, if they'd have lost yesterday against Miami, a lot of red flags would have came up for me. It would have been their fourth loss in a row. I would have had a difficult time really I'd have had a really difficult time trying to make any more excuses for the Lakers. The loss they had against Houston, okay, close game, poor execution. Maybe you want to look at some referees towards the end, but Lakers had their chances in that game, made some mistakes, lost the game. We're down by 22 at one point. Dallas, no excuse for. By the way, Dallas, since they beat the Lakers, they've lost 3 games in a row, of course, because they don't have Luka and Kyrie. How are they going to win games on a consistent basis? The Spurs game, if I want to make excuses and say, hey, this is their first game back, they haven't played in a week, all the fires that are going on, but they did get outscored 73-40 in the second half. And then last night, by halftime, I think we're all looking at the Lakers. At least I am. At halftime, I'm saying to myself, yeah, I don't think they're going to come back in this game. I don't have any reason to think that they're going to come back in this game. They look awful. They can't get a stop if their life depended on it. Tyler Hero, it wasn't just Tyler Hero, by the way. There are a lot of guys from Miami just taking complete control of the Lakers and doing whatever they need to do. But ultimately, I'm looking at this team, at least at halftime, and I'm like, they're in some real danger of just, I don't know if you want to call it a free fall, but even if you're playing 500 basketball the rest of the way, you're going to be in that playing tournament. You're not going to get very far. It's just I think it's more the eye test of looking at this team and saying, is this squad really going to go anywhere, or are we going to be sitting here by the time May 1st comes around, the season is over? You guys remember last year what happened? Playoffs start right around mid-April. By the time May 1st started, Lakers season was over. It was over. They lost to Denver in 5 games, and it had, you're kind of starting to get a little bit of a feel like this isn't going to be much different than it's been the last couple of years. All right, second half starts. I don't know how much this came into play, but I was reading this article this morning in the LA Times. Let me find this real quick. There was an article last night in the LA Times that was basically, I guess, JJ Redick was trying to find a way to challenge his team. And here's what the title says. JJ Redick challenges Lakers leadership, and they respond by defeating the Heat. I guess he did this a couple days ago. I guess he did this before the game, and I guess he did this again at halftime. Here's what he said. He said, there was nothing we changed schematically. I implored our team to talk more and play harder. Austin Reaves said it was just the message we needed, and I think most importantly, it got through to the group. Okay, I don't know what happened in the second half, but the Lakers came out in the second half and looked nothing like the team they were in the first half, looked nothing like they've looked over the last week and a half. All of a sudden, they are getting stops. All of a sudden, they do look like an effective team, a team, right, where multiple guys are contributing. You're like, damn, Gabe Vincent's actually giving the Lakers some minutes. Wow, hey, Rui is actually leading the Lakers in scoring. It wasn't this just dependent on one player or 2 players. It wasn't this, we're going to try and outscore a team, because that's just a dumb strategy for the Lakers, and they shouldn't do that, and that's not a winning formula. And then all of a sudden, by the time the dust settles, Lakers kind of take control over those last few minutes in the fourth quarter. And I'm looking around and I'm like, well, I don't even know how they did this. What makes me think they can do this on a consistent basis? So one of the topics that I had today is, why are the Lakers so wildly inconsistent so far this year? And I'm trying to figure it out. When I was starting the postgame show last night, that was one of the questions somebody asked. And if you look at just the last two games for the Lakers, this is it's such a, actually, you know what? You can actually look at the last three games for the Lakers. It's such a trip how wild they are quarter to quarter or half to half. And ultimately, I don't know if that just means they're an average team, if it means, well, look at the potential that they have. I probably lean more towards they're an average team. But the game against Dallas, they go up 6. Dallas goes on an 11-0 run to end the first half, and then they end up blowing out the Lakers. It's like, what the hell just happened here? Okay. The game against San Antonio, Lakers are up 9 at halftime and were outscored by 24 in the fourth quarter and lost by 24 points. They were outscored by 30-something, 33 in the second half. It's like, how is that the same game? And then last night, another good example, Miami's just dominating them. And then they turn on the switch, and all of a sudden, Lakers take control. They win the game. They are so wildly inconsistent. And I don't think that's a good trait, and if JJ Redick gives them some rah-rah speech at halftime that gets them going, cool, awesome. But I don't think anybody's really sitting there and saying, that's the blueprint, that's the strategy, that's how you beat the elite teams in the Western Conference. So I'm a little bit and I think part of me is curious from Laker fans to kind of help figure out what exactly this team is. But that definitely is concerning. I mean, I don't think there's too many Laker fans out there that are saying to themselves, well, this is perfect. This is exactly what I want to see for the Lakers. I will say this. I do think they will still churn things around. I think I was mentioning that a couple days ago that I don't think the team that we've been seeing over the last week and a half, 2 weeks is the Lakers. I do think Dorian Finney-Smith will eventually have impact. I do eventually think Jared Vanderbilt, when he comes back, because it seems like it's now just a matter of days until he does come back, I do think they will have more of an identity, but all over the place. They are all over the place. Their players are all over the place. The team is all over the place. The defense is all over the place. I don't know what the Lakers are going to be night in, night out. So let's take a look at a couple of the comments here and go from there. Let's see what we got here. Northborough AES, Heat, no point guard. Hero, 8 turnovers. No elite point forward, only Highsmith. Bam was under the weather. And Jimmy Butler didn't play, by the way. A win is a win, but Rui or Reaves got to hit the bench. Keep it real, guys. I'm going to get into Austin Reaves. I'll do that here in just a little bit, and I appreciate the Super Northborough. I'm going to hit on him. I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about Austin Reaves. It's one of my topics for tonight because I thought last night was probably as close to a blueprint game that you could hope for from Austin Reaves. That's realistic. That's not unrealistic because I know there's a lot of Laker fans do have some frustrations with Austin Reaves. I'm still kind of trying to figure out completely why there's so much of that towards him. Rui coming off the bench, I'm fine with that. I don't have an issue with that. I think the question is just going to be, what are they going to do when Vando comes back? Is that the position that they're taking, or is there another player that or that maybe they just write it out, whatever it is. All right, let me keep going here. Heat, no athletic guard, so they look decent, or he looked decent. This is a mid-team. The record shows it. Let's see what else we got here. Athletic guards dominate the Lakers and good bigs dominate the Lakers. Rob needs to do what he said and trade for two two-way players. I don't care about turning things around, and it's not completely turned around to legit contention. A Western Conference Finals trip isn't turning it around to me. Beat Boston or bust, championship or bust. Well, let me tell you something, Steven. I don't think there's anybody on this chat right now that thinks, if you think championship or bust this year, then what would make you think that it's not going to be a bust, right? And I get it. That's kind of the philosophy of the Lakers. I get it. This is how the Lakers have built their brand. You got to win the NBA championship or nobody's interested. But I'll tell you this, a couple years ago, when they got to the Western Conference Finals, I think I walked away saying, hey, they got something to build off of. Hey, that was a good season for what the season looked like, for them to trade Russell Westbrook and then eventually midseason have the amount of success that they had. And then they had pieces where you're like, hey, I think a lot of these guys are going to work. They're going to work out well for the Lakers and they can build off of it. Obviously, that didn't end up happening, but to be legit contenders this year, I don't think those jive, right? I don't think anybody in this chat is sitting here saying, yeah, I think if the Lakers just do this, they're going to be a legitimate contender. Slee, how hot is the coffee today? Today wasn't that piping hot. It's really the tea that gets me. The tea burns like my upper lip and everything is gone. I don't feel anything for a week. All right, couple more here, and then I want to keep going on some of this stuff. Ask Lee. Throw any Ask Lees out, and I'll get to them at some point. Are you planning on doing any NFL division round preview Friday? Friday, we'll get everybody ready for the NFL. Still a little bit too early for that. Tomorrow's Friday, actually, so tomorrow I'll be doing that. I think tomorrow Dan Weike will come on to the LA Times, so just a heads up on that. Let's see what else we have here. Western Conference Finals is not a successful season. 2 years ago, to me, when it didn't feel like they were getting there at all, maybe success is not the right word to put or to use, but you didn't walk away from that season saying, well, this was an awful year. I wasn't. Because if you think that Lakers are going to be competing for a championship every single year, they're not going to. And by the way, Dr. Jerry Buss and Jerry West are not running the organization like they were before, right? And Phil Jackson is not your head coach. And Shaq and Kobe are not on this team. And there isn't Hall of Famer after Hall of Famer like there was in the Showtime era. It's different. And the way the league is today, I don't think no team really is built. I mean, I say that right now, but Boston, I know, has been knocking on the door. And for all I know, they can win 2 in a row this year and be on their way to, getting 3 over the next 5 years or 6 years or whatever the case is. But the front office is not built the way it used to be. Let's not pretend. And the greatest owner, arguably, in history of sports is no longer around. So he's got his family obviously trying to do everything they can to keep up with a legacy that no one will ever be able to keep up with. All right. A lot of comments here. Let's keep going here. All right, let's keep going here. I want to keep going on some of these topics. So the question I threw out there, why is this team so inconsistent? You guys can feel however you guys want to in regards to answering that question. I'll try to get to some of these. Super unrealistic and delusional to think you're going to win every year. Yeah, that's the one thing that I will say. And I know this just comes with the territory of Laker fans. Listen, I've been behind a mic now for, I think April will be maybe 9 years talking Lakers basketball in some capacity. And I'm talking about whether I was doing Lakers talk or whether I was here on YouTube for 6+ years or now where this is just my, obviously the platform. Communicating with Laker fans, there's always this, I think there's this, like the NBA owes them or ownership owes them that no, they're supposed to be the team that wins every single year. Just we're not in that world anymore. And I'm sure Yankee fans are probably the same way because they got 26, 27, whatever, how many World Series that they have. I get it that there's certain franchises that feel a certain way. There are always going to be a percentage of Laker fans that are saying, if it's not a championship, this was an unsuccessful season. And I understand their philosophy of what they're saying and where they're coming from. What I'm telling you is those days are not realistic anymore. They're just not. And that doesn't, and I'm not even talking about that's all on the NBA. No. That's also because the franchise doesn't look the same. The ownership doesn't look the same. None of these things always last forever. Let me give you guys a good example here. And maybe I'm wrong on this one because they've been doing it for a while. But the Dodgers have been dominating baseball for This is a long stretch they're dominating baseball. Now, it doesn't guarantee them a World Series, as you guys can see. I think most people were looking at the Dodgers. It's like basically they've guaranteed themselves a playoff spot, and then whatever happens in the playoffs happens in the playoffs. But eventually, this run will end for the Dodgers. It might not be for 10 years. It might not be for 15 years. It might be for 5 years. I have no idea. But all of these runs eventually come to an end. Now, the Dodgers are in a very unique spot because they're in a league where there is no salary cap. They're definitely they're run well. They have a good ownership group. They have the resources. I mean, they got a lot of things that are going in their favor. But eventually, all this stuff will come to an end. Lakers had that. Lakers had that for many years, but since really you could say 2012, 2013, it's completely different now. It's not the same team. It's not the same franchise. Okay, let's keep going here. I want to switch gears here because if not, then we're going to probably be sitting here and talking about this all the time, or for another hour or so. I want to talk Austin Reaves here for a quick second. I want to talk about Austin Reaves last night. All right, Austin Reaves last night. Let me just kind of set this up here real quick. Why I want to talk about Austin Reaves. Here's what's been going on with Austin Reaves, at least for me, in this chat, in some of the chatter that we have on this show, a lot of the comments. I've done some videos on it. I feel like there are a lot of Laker fans who are starting to voice their opinion that they're not a fan of Austin Reaves, or that Austin Reaves takes too many shots, or Austin Reaves is a turnover machine, or Austin Reaves should be coming off the bench. Whatever your take is on Austin Reaves, I think my point that I'm trying to make is it's the most kind of chatter that I've heard about Reaves, and it's been more on a negative front. So I'm watching the game yesterday, and naturally, I'm kind of curious. Okay, how's Austin Reaves going to come out? I heard Mike Trudell talking before the game. Austin Reaves putting a lot on his shoulders. He's got to be better defensively. He has not played good in these last couple of games. And really, to be honest with you, if everything's not clicking for the Lakers, the chance of them losing that game is very, very high. So Austin Reaves has very little margin for error in today's world because of all that. Okay, so let me play off of that real quick. So there is that's kind of been the vibe that I'm getting off Austin Reaves. So last night's game, all right, game goes on, and Lakers eventually win the game. And I'm looking at, okay, what was Austin Reaves' impact? Austin Reaves only took 9 shots. I think for me, I don't need Austin Reaves taking 18 shots. I don't think anybody needs Austin Reaves to take more shots than LeBron or Anthony Davis. Definitely not more than Anthony Davis. If there's a game he takes more shots than LeBron, then I hope it's because Austin Reaves was cooking, and maybe LeBron noticed that he's dishing the ball more, or maybe LeBron just didn't have it going, something along those lines. But for the most part, I think we understand the pecking order. What I liked about Austin Reaves' game last night, first off, he had 1 turnover. Okay, so right out the gate, I didn't have 35 comments right when the postgame show started of people saying, Al, how is your point guard going to be Austin Reaves? Which is very true here, who can't get by the primary defender. There is a little bit of a blueprint of how to guard Austin Reaves, primarily because you can put a bigger player on him. But you can't have a point guard like Austin Reaves committing this many turnovers, kind of having trouble getting things into the offense, maybe taking poor shots or taking too many shots, high volume, whatever the case is. Austin Reaves took 9 shots last night. He was 5-9 from the field. He had 14 points. He had 14 assists, and he had 1 turnover. I'm not telling you that Austin Reaves is going to be able to replicate that night in and night out, but I think what I'm assuming, a lot of that frustration that goes towards Austin Reaves is, okay, if he has games where we're not sitting back and saying, Reaves, that's not a good shot. Reaves, can you take a shot? Now, Reaves, he's so creative and drawing fouls and everything else. I think that's just kind of part of his game. But if they can find a way to make sure that Austin Reaves is under more control, maybe is even thinking about being a facilitator more than a creator first. And I don't think that's natural in his game. I think he wants it to be natural. I think there's potential for that to be natural. But I think there's a lot of times when you watch Austin Reaves that clearly this man is looking at trying to get a bucket before trying to get somebody else a bucket. He had 14 assists yesterday. He's had some games where he's had 16 assists, 10 dimes, some triple doubles. But he's also had games where he's wildly, 5 of 16 from the field. Really struggles from the 3-point line at times. 4, 5, 6 turnovers in a game. So I do think last night was one of the few games here over the course of the last maybe a couple of weeks or so, or 3 weeks or whatever the case is, where I think you could look at what he was able to do and say, okay, that's the type of game you're hoping from Austin Reaves. Is it going to happen on a night in, night out basis? Probably not. Brooklyn's coming up next. Okay, no problem there. Lakers should handle business there. But then the next game they got after that is the Clippers. Okay, a couple games later, they got Boston. A couple games later, they'll have, I think it's Golden State that's on the schedule. Then they go on their East Coast road trip, whatever the case is. Teams have adjusted to Austin Reaves, and they are making Austin Reaves' life a lot more difficult. That's the thought process. That's what they're trying to do on a night in, night out basis, and they've been able to have success doing it. I thought last night, and if people want to point out, well, that's because Miami doesn't have big guards, which you're right, that will put a ton of pressure on him. Plus, Miami was playing a lot of zone yesterday, so, their style of defense is different than your typical style of defense. Maybe last night was just one game where we could see Austin Reaves and say, hey, that was phenomenal what he did. Didn't force too many shots, got a lot of other people involved. He was in foul trouble as well. Maybe that falls into play of why he didn't take so many shots. But more of that type of game from Austin Reaves, less hero ball, less I'm trying to take 17, 18 shots, and who knows what JJ Redick and everybody else is telling him. Maybe they're telling him, go ahead and fire away. But nonetheless, I don't want to complain about last night's game with Austin Reaves. I'll complain about other games, but I definitely don't want to complain about what Austin Reaves was doing last night. All right, let's see some of the comments here. The only defender on this team, let me see here. The only defender on this team is AD. Listen, Dorian Finney-Smith's a defender. Max Christie is a defender. Vanderbilt is a defender when he comes back. They got some defenders on the team. What they don't have is, I think sometimes where you look at them and you're like, okay, hey, they're all collectively playing defense. They're pulling the rope in the same direction. I don't think you have that. All right, let's see what else we got here. They tire him out in the playoffs, make him play defense, can't defend. I'm not even talking about in the playoffs. How about now? I think right now is a good example. There's a lot of times it's a smart strategy. It's exactly what they should do. But there's a lot of squads that go at also. Listen, if I'm on the opposing team, I'm putting a big guard on Austin Reaves, number one. And I'm taking him off the 3-point line. I don't mind if Austin Reaves is going to drive the ball. Is what it is. You want to make a tough shot over one of my guys, then go ahead and do it. But that's what I'm doing, number one. And number two, when I'm on offense, I'm going at Austin Reaves, period. You guys remember the game? A couple games ago, they played San Antonio. How many times did Chris Paul tell Harrison Barnes, why don't you go post up out there? Austin Reaves is guarding you. Okay? So now he's got to play defense against some type of offensive player that he probably can't stop and who's bigger than him. And then he's got a bigger player that's guarding him on the defensive side. I would make his life a living hell. Now, I've kind of continued to go back to this because I think what I hear people say is, hey, bring Austin Reaves off the bench. But what I don't really hear anybody saying is, who are you bringing him in for? Who are you benching him for? And if people are going to say Shake Milton, I don't know what you guys want me to tell you. Shake Milton is not starting over Austin Reaves. By the way, I noticed this yesterday too. I'll get back into some of the comments here in a second. How lost does Dalton Connect look? I had no reason why I'm bringing this up. I noticed it yesterday, and I was going to bring it up last night in the postgame show. I forgot to. But if you're looking for players to start, Remember there was one point Dalton Connect was starting for the Lakers? And one time J.J. Redick took him out, and everybody's like, why would you take him out? Me included. I think I did a full video specifically on J.J., what are you doing? Dalton Connect should be starting. That man right now is so deep in his own head, taking threes he shouldn't be taking, hesitating when he shouldn't be hesitating. Yeah, that dude is it's part of being a rookie, right? But that high and low was pretty damn extreme on Dalton Connect. AR's biggest problem is his defense. Teams abusing him in ISO. They should be. And here's the other thing. It's not going to change. It's not going to change. From the defensive side, I think he's just going to be a liability. Everybody in this chat has anointed Austin Reaves all-star. I don't know what chat you're looking at. Tell me where those are, because all the comments that I've been looking at has been Austin Reaves has been struggling. Okay, here's one. Austin is amazing. People want to trade more than they even watch games. Oh, people love trades. They love trades. They love the chatter of trades. I mean, I'll tell you this. I mean, when the Lakers traded for Dorian Finney-Smith, there's like a week where the numbers of this channel, and I'm sure other channels that do stuff similar to mine, just shoot up, right? When you get closer to the NBA trade deadline, everybody is curious about it. They want to know what the hell's going on. Is a trade going down? Is it not? When you get close to free agency, I mean, some of the numbers, what's kind of crazy, some of the numbers that I'll put up on this channel around trade deadline and free agency will be bigger than playoff numbers. An actual playoff game, they'll be bigger in those. So you're right. People do love the drama. They love the trades. They love all that stuff. Reaves as a fourth option instead of a third would be closer to a championship team, but they don't have a legit third. You know what else they don't have? I heard Robert Horry talking about this yesterday. So Horry on Spectrum Sports and the postgame show. Actually, I don't think it was yesterday. It might have been a couple games ago. He said, maybe it was yes, I can't remember. He said, you don't need to have a third guy, but what you need to have is somebody stepping up every night. That you got to have a couple guys step up. So let me tell you what I think he means by that. If you're not going to have a third player, if it's not like, hey, it's clearly Austin Reaves is the third best player on this team, I think the point that Horry was trying to make is, well, you don't need a third player if Rui's more consistent, and if Gabe is more consistent, and Max is more consistent, and Dorian Finney-Smith is doing what he needs to do, and kind of go down the list. The problem with the Lakers, I have no idea what most of those guys are going to do on a night-in, night-out basis. The reason why Austin Reaves is the third best player on this team is because he's the most consistent of the role players. That's it. There isn't another reason. There isn't another angle. There isn't another, this kumbaya moment of why all of a sudden Austin Reaves is the guy or the third best guy. He's just the only player that you can look at. Maybe Max Christie's starting to kind of fill into that role a little bit as a 21-year-old and is not a liability on defense the way Reaves is. But that's the thing that I will say more than anything else. The reason why the Lakers have we've all anointed Austin Reaves as the third best player on the team. He's the only player that's consistent. Rui last night dropped 23. You know what he's probably going to drop tomorrow or when the Lakers play the Clippers this weekend? He'll probably have an 8-point performance and 2 rebounds, and we won't blink. And Gabe Vincent had 14 yesterday. We might not talk about Gabe Vincent for another 2 weeks. That's just kind of how this Lakers team has been. All right, let me get to a couple more comments here, and then a couple other things I want to get into. All right, Northborough, thank you for the super here. More Twin Tower lineups without Reaves and Rui. I think he's talking about when Anthony Davis was in there with Jackson Hayes. Jackson Hayes was in there. AD was. They didn't do it for very long, but they did try it. Kind of tried something different against Miami, trying to kind of work the middle or get the ball. Lakers were trying to find a strategy in the zone. When you're playing against a zone, they want you to shoot contested shots on the outside. They don't want you getting the ball in the middle. And the Lakers eventually figured out their way doing that. Nick T, Reaves, 9 shots is what Lakers need. AD needs to lead the Lakers in shot attempts, followed by LeBron. Rui and Reaves get the crumbs. Reaves overvalued by LA. Nick T, I don't know if he's overvalued or they'd have no other choice. I think that's been my biggest discrepancy, my biggest conflict when we talk about Austin Reaves. It's not that I disagree with people on Austin Reaves, but I don't know what plan B is. I think that's my biggest problem. I don't think Reaves is overvalued. I think Reaves is the next best thing after LeBron and AD. And if he's not, then let some of these other players prove that he's not. So I think that's been my issue there. Thank you for the super, brother. All right, let's keep things moving here. Keep things moving here. Twin Tower is great, but Hayes isn't the guy. A real center. Yeah, they'll. That's got to be one of the things that. That's got to be one of the things that they address here before trade deadline. Lakers Venice. Big Shot Rob or Big Shot Bob has a skewed view of role players hitting shots. Yeah, I mean, listen. When Robert Horry was playing, he was playing with Rick Fox and Derek Fisher and Brian Shaw and Horace Grant and Devin George, if you guys remember, Glenn Rice, Mitch Richmond. I mean, there were so many great role players and veterans and championship pedigree. So I think, what he has in his mind. I'm not, by the way, I didn't even mention the days that he was with the Spurs or the days that he was with the Rockets winning championships as well. Vernon Maxwell and Kenny Smith and Manu Ginobili. And I just kind of go down the list of some of the different players that he's played with. So, and I didn't even mention the stars, right? I didn't say Tim Duncan and Tony Parker and Hakeem Olajuwon and Shaq and Kobe. So, yeah, maybe it is skewed, but that's all he knows because that's who he played with when he was on those squads. Okay, I want to keep moving here. AC Green, somebody put on there. Okay, so let's keep things moving here. I want to spend a quick second talking about something. Hit the Reaves thing, hit the Lakers versus Heat thing. Next game, I did mention that it's Lakers in Brooklyn. I want to do two things here real quick. So Clippers, by the way, set a record for largest margin of victory in franchise history. They beat Brooklyn by 59 points. So just something to keep in mind there. 126-67. When I was doing the post-game show, I looked up at the scores were going on. I'm like, what's going on here? What happened? Kawhi, by the way, played 23 minutes. I'm just pointing that out. I'm learning this as I go. I was more just looking about the score, but I know Kawhi's been on a minutes restriction. So Clippers 22-17. Next game for the Lakers, they got Brooklyn. I know D'Angelo did not play in yesterday's game. We'll see. We'll see if somebody wants to tell me. Let me actually look here. I'd be curious to see, and I'll spend more time on that game tomorrow. But I am curious here. Is he out for a while? Is he not? I mean, I'd love to see D'Angelo Russell. Has been ruled out. All right, D'Lo's been ruled out for Wednesday game against the Clippers. We'll see if he plays on Friday. If he plays tomorrow, I want him to play. I mean, great storyline if he plays. We'll spend a little bit more time on all that stuff tomorrow. But yeah, Brooklyn only lost by 59 yesterday. Okay, so one thing I want to get to here real quick, and I've said this a couple times. Yesterday, LeBron for the first time talked about the fires the fires here in Los Angeles. I got a couple quick stories here, and then we'll go on this NBA trades thing that ESPN put out there. I'll do some Ask SLI, then we'll call it a day today. I'll read some more of your comments. So I'm gonna read the title here. LeBron James says family has evacuated home amid Los Angeles wildfires. Here's what LeBron said, okay? And I'm going to give the Lakers, as much as people are critical on the Lakers, as I am, you have certain expectations for this team. This has been an effed up week and a half for Los Angeles, period, in general, okay? Here's what LeBron said. He said, personally, I've been off. Personally, my family, we've been evacuated since Thursday night. So I've been in a hotel pretty much when I got back from Dallas, figuring it out. staying strong for another. Obviously, that's most important. I have a couple dear friends that have lost their homes in the Palisades. Obviously, my heart goes out to all the families all across, not only the Palisades, but all across LA County and all the surrounding areas because of the fire. It's been a lot of emotions, kind of been off. Personally, I've been off. Okay. I'm going to give, and I think there, no question about it, it's got to be some sympathy for this Lakers team, Laker organization, Clippers as well. Any teams that are in LA, we saw that the Rams did what they did. They had to leave LA and go play a game in Glendale, Arizona, dominated that playoff game. And now they'll be going to Philly. But if you're in the LA area, if you're in Los Angeles, pretending like it's business as usual, it's not. It's just not. No matter what your day-to-day is, no matter what you're doing, no matter where you live in LA, it's not business as usual. And, Bron obviously pointing out, hey, my family, we got evacuated. JJ Redick's got a rental home in the Pacific Palisades. Yeah, it burnt down. Nobody, I think, can look at, and here's the crazy thing about everything going on here in LA. And I got to be honest with you. I'm kind of, when I get into things and I have a curiosity on something, I'll keep looking into it until I kind of exhaust myself. These fires, and here's my personal connection to this. My personal connection is I've lived in Pasadena for about 4 years or so, something along those lines. And I've been spending a lot of time in Pasadena for years. Right over the 210 freeway is Altadena. And last night, KTLA put out this app that you can download, or it's actually, no, it's just on their website, or you can download the app. And it shows, hey, if you want to see what homes have been damaged, what homes have are 50% or more damaged or burnt to the completely destroyed, or maybe 25% damage. They are now starting to, they got, people that are out there that are physically, this is part of, I think, the city's work as well, taking pictures of this home has been burnt down and here's a photo of it. This home stayed up and here's a photo of it. I spent so much time yesterday just watching this. I'll tell you why I did it. I did it because I've spent a lot of time in the Altadena area doing some hikes out there. And there's hikes that you can go out into the trails, or you can do that's kind of within neighborhoods. And the ones that are within neighborhoods, I'm like, you cannot be telling me that these exact hikes, all these houses are gone, or this street, everything stayed, but across the street, all those homes are gone. Just been kind of a trip to think about. About a month ago, I was at a Lakers game, and Bill Plaschke, who obviously writes for the LA Times, has been a part of the LA Times for a long time. I'll tell you my exact interaction with Bill Plaschke a month ago. I see Bill and we say hello. We haven't seen each other in a while. And Bill's like, hey, how are things going? I know you left 710 ESPN. How are things going? I said, Bill, why don't you and I catch up one of these days? I've always had a nice relationship with Bill. So why don't we catch up one of these days? Let's grab a cup of coffee. He said, what area are you in? I said, I'm predominantly in Pasadena. He said, oh, great. I'm in Altadena. So you're just on the other side. Let's coordinate it. Let's organize it. I hit him with a text, I think a couple of days ago, just asking, hey, hope everything's okay. I saw an article today in the LA Times, and it's Bill Plaschke, who is driving through Altadena with his LA Times crew and finding out firsthand is if his home stood or it didn't. And there's a really good video and there's a really good article Bill Plaschke's talking about, why did my home survive? Like, I'm happy that it survived, but I'm also guilty because all my neighbors' homes, most of them don't have homes anymore. Here's why I'm setting all this up. I'm setting all this up because it has not been business as usual for anyone here in Los Angeles, I think, over these last, obviously week and a half or so. And I do think that, whether you're looking at watching Lakers basketball or you're not watching Lakers basketball, whatever the case is, I think it's impossible not to think it's had some type of effect on the players, the coaches, the things of that. And here's, I think the part that's probably going to be most difficult for a lot of these people that are actually involved. This stuff's not going to just get better in a week or two. It's going to take years for them to figure out, what they're going to do, when they can actually build. A lot of people, obviously, I think I mentioned this yesterday, or maybe it was the day before. Um, there's a condo for rent here in this condo complex that I'm in, and you just see people after people trying to come in to rent this thing out. These are all displaced people from Altadena or for some other areas around where they can't go back to their neighborhood anymore. So it's been a trip. It's been crazy. It really has. And like I said, when LeBron says he was evacuated, or when JJ says, our home went down, you could tell. I mean, this is not something where, hey, this happened. I didn't have a good day at work. I'm just going to go back at home and get a good night's sleep. When I wake up, everything is back. A lot of people lost everything. So it's been kind of a trip to kind of watch all this happen and to go down. Shout out to Bill Plaschke as well. I mean, that's somebody that I really respect in the business. Whether you love his work, don't love his work, of course, he's one of the more opinionated people across the country. But it's on the LA Times. You can go watch it. That video is pretty. It's pretty powerful. So I have no good way of segueing into another thing. But I'll try to do my best to do that. All right, let's see. Let's read a couple of these. I can agree. I work at a bank next to Pasadena. It messed me mentally and my moods. Yeah, for me, man, I'll tell you guys what hit me the most is looking at this map that KTLA put out. I'm looking at the exact trail that I go on. I'm like, oh yeah, there are all houses here to the left. I park right here. There's houses here to my right. When I get to this stage, now I'm going through neighborhoods and cul-de-sacs. And all of these, I think the color was, red is, the home is destroyed or whatever the case is. It's all red. And then you just see like an occasional home that's still there. And I'll recognize the home. I'll be like, oh, yeah, I walk by this home. But then all the other homes around it are gone. It's crazy. Just completely crazy. Okay, let's keep going here. I want to get into another topic that I want to get into here real quick. So I saw this on ESPN today. By the way, I think on purpose, I'm not getting into. I did a video 2 days ago on Roki Sasaki. There's really nothing new. He could sign at any time. So I know a couple of people have been saying, hey, you're going to talk more about Roki. Let's let something happen before we do talk about it. I've said this from the beginning. I do think in regards to Roki, I think the only news is if he doesn't sign with the Dodgers, if he signed with the Padres or Toronto, that would be news to me. If he signs with the Dodgers, it's kind of like, yeah, well, we always thought he was going to sign there. But we'll do that once he makes, his decision. His decision's got to come within the next week. I think he's got to make a decision by January 23rd. And then tomorrow I'll get into more NFL stuff and NFL games and everything else. Okay. So there was an article, and we're going to look at this together. This is going to be, obviously very NBA centric in regards to that. So let's let me share this with you guys. I thought this was interesting because the Lakers weren't in the article. So here's the article here. 2025 NBA trade deadline. By the way, it's coming. February 6th is the NBA trade deadline. 5 offers that would change the title race. Okay. So this is on ESPN, part of ESPN Plus that they do. Let me just kind of go through for each of these. Okay. Here's one trade scenario. Jimmy Butler joining the Kings to end his feud with the Miami Heat. So basically, Miami getting a couple of guys, DeMar DeRozan, Tim Hardaway Jr., and then the big player coming to Kevin Huerter also goes in this deal as well. The big player coming is Jimmy Butler of the Sacramento Kings. Sacramento's interesting. They're interesting only because they were so bad. And, obviously their situation with firing Mike Brown, but then all of a sudden they started winning some games. I know they lost their last game, but they are back at 500. Would Jimmy Butler want to play for the Sacramento Kings? That doesn't sound like that would be something Jimmy Butler would be interested in, but I do think they'd be a lot more interesting of a team if they're able to acquire it. Again, I just want to go through these because I think it's interesting. Suns' Big Three era ends with KD leaving. Houston gets Kevin Durant. And then Phoenix tries to kind of, I guess you could say, you want to call it start their rebuild, however you want to look at it. Dylan Brooks, Cam Whitmore, some other players that are involved in that deal as well. If Houston got Kevin Durant, all right, that's interesting. is Houston trying to go all in right now, or do they want to continue to kind of build more organically the way they did, like a team like the Oklahoma City Thunder? All right, here's another one that was on there. Minnesota. By the way, you know what's crazy about this one? Here's Minnesota already talking about, should they break up what they have? What the hell were they doing when they traded Karl Anthony Towns? Somebody want to explain that one to me? Minnesota gets Kobe White, John Collins. Chicago gets Julius Randle, Jordan Clarkson. Utah gets Jaden McDaniels and Lonzo Ball. Man, I don't know what the hell Minnesota's doing, and I don't know why they did what they did, but certainly that's one of the kind of I think one of the teams out there that just made a critical error in the offseason. Okay, here's another one. Levine helps Curry Warriors get back on track. I don't know how much this would get the Golden State Warriors back on track, to be honest with everybody. I don't think there's really much that they can do that's going to change everything. This one I thought was interesting. Orlando gets Cam Johnson, and they trade a couple of their guards in order to do so. And Keon Johnson. I put that on there for a couple of reasons. There are obviously some teams out there there are some players out there that would, no question about it, affect the Western Conference and what the Lakers are doing and everything else. Do I think those drastic of trades would go down? Probably not. Do I think KD is going to end up with the Rockets? Probably not. The Jimmy Butler one, I got to be honest, I think Jimmy Butler can end up anywhere. I think he could end up anywhere. So I think that's the piece where, you kind of look at the one concern that I have is other teams in the West getting better because of that. All right, let's see another one here. OKC isn't organic. SGA is from a trade. You're right about that, but think about that. They traded for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. This is part of the Paul George deal. They traded also, obviously Russell Westbrook. But look at all the assets they got in those deals. I mean, I don't think everything could be completely organic, but for the most part, a lot of the guys they drafted, they developed, or players they traded for got better when they were there. I mean, Isaiah Hartenstein and Alex Caruso aren't from OKC as well, but it can't all be organic. There's got to be times that you obviously go out there and you try to find a way to make moves. All right, let's get another one in here. By the way, if you got some Ask Lees, throw them in right now as we get to the final couple of minutes of the show. Nobody wants to come to Los Angeles until star chaser, don't play defense, shows zero respect to his teammates. Please hurry up, take off our Lakers for life uniform we will never accept. Kobe. Okay, I'm going to assume there that you're talking about LeBron. Man, people either love him or just absolutely hate him. Love him or absolutely hate him. Guys, do me a favor on these comments here. Be respectful to each other. I don't usually have to say that. I don't even really feel like I need to say that now, but do me a favor. That's the environment that I want to create here. Be respectful to each other. All right. Get a couple Ask Lees in here. You got some other basketball ones? Go ahead and put the basketball ones in there. You got some Ask Lees, throw them in there. Turkey or ham? This one's not even close for me. Turkey. Not even close. I don't know what it is. I never cared for ham. Just never cared for it. It's just never for me. You guys ever buy one of those turkey legs when you're at like a fair? What was it? I went one time to, what was it? Fontana for a race. Yeah, Al went to a race out in Fontana years ago. I'd never been to a race, so I wanted to go. So there I am doing my, it's kind of funny. There I am doing my, trying to watch, who was it? Jimmy Johnson. I'm watching all these guys. And then I walk by one of those places that sells the huge turkey leg. I'm like, I'm going to go ahead and have one of those. I'm going to go ahead and have one of those turkey legs. I look like an idiot walking around with a turkey leg. Sushi or sashimi? That's a good question right there. Good question. Doing a couple Ask Lees. Those don't know what Ask Lee is. That's random questions. Any question that you want to ask, and I'll answer it, and take a little bit off the normal conversation on the show. Please subscribe to the channel if you don't mind. Sushi or sashimi? When I'm at my healthiest, sashimi. But sushi, man, I grew up on rice. You know, in the Middle Eastern world, rice is everywhere. Everywhere you look, they have rice. Like even that dish has rice. Yeah. So I love rice. So I'm going sushi. So yeah, gives you an idea. Coffee or espresso? I'll tell you guys what I am. I have two machines in my office. I have a coffee maker, and then I have an espresso machine as well. Not fancy or anything like that. Just was little, those little espresso capsules that you put in there. I go coffee in the morning, full cup of coffee in the morning. If I want coffee later, it's probably a shot of espresso. So I do a little bit of both, but all day coffee over espresso. How about them Clippers ready for Sunday against the Lakers? Yeah, let's do that tomorrow. Let's talk a little bit about that tomorrow. I know they're going to have a game before they get to the Clippers, but I'm impressed with the Clippers. Got to be honest with you. I really am. And by the way, I got no issue if there's a conversation to be had about the Clippers and it makes sense, then we'll talk about it. Clippers I'm impressed with what they've done so far this year. All right, let's get a couple more here. All right, Slee, you got a lot of love at 7:10 yesterday. Okay. I'm not sure what that means, but thank you in advance. I appreciate that. I don't know where the love came from, but thank you. Barbecue turkey wings rule. I don't think I've ever had that. Thank you for the super there. Sliwa, Disneyland turkey legs are fire. Okay. I'm going to have to try that one out. Great Marcellus interview, Slee. Thank you, buddy. Slee, it's hard to be an LA fan and an SD fan. All right, let me tell you what I am. I'm a Laker fan. Which is a global brand. But my heart, no question about it, is I'm from San Diego. So let me give you an example. SDFC is about to start. San Diego Football Club. Okay, well, that's going to be my soccer team then, right? I'm not going to root. I'm from San Diego. Obviously, people know I'm a Padre fan. I'm not a Dodger fan. My tie to LA, and I got a tie in LA because I've lived out here for a number of years, and the LA I know out here is a lot less Hollywood. The LA I know is blue collar, people rolling up their sleeves and going to work. That's the LA that I know. But at the end of the day, of course, I'm from San Diego. I want my city to have success. There's a lot of jealousy that LA has it as easy as it has it when it comes to sports. And my city's freaking lost how many different teams and this and that. The Chargers thing was devastated. So I wouldn't say it's hard. I think I try to represent where I'm from in a bigger market, and people can like it or they don't, but I hopefully the authenticity is all that matters there. Jimmy Johnson, the GOAT. Damn right Jimmy Johnson's the GOAT. You know where Jimmy Johnson's from? El Cajon. Damn right he's from El Cajon. David, relax there, okay? I read one comment about the Clippers Nation. Relax, okay? What do you mean Clippers Nation? It's like a Clipper. It's like a block. It's like a block and a half. Relax. A small little neighborhood. All right, let's keep going here. Look at me inviting Clipper fans, and then the moment they say something, I'm like, what are you talking about? All right, my people. I think we're good today. Solid 103 today. Thank you for being a part of the show. Appreciate you guys helping me get to 28,000 subscribers. So thank you for that. That's a big part of, obviously wanting to grow the channel and take this thing wherever I take it. I enjoy doing it. I enjoy coming on here with you guys and being able to kind of talk about whatever it is that we want to talk about. So I appreciate you guys hanging out for as much as you guys have today and as much as you guys have been hanging out. I'm back tomorrow. And I will do another show. I'm still got to confirm it, but it looks like Dan Wyke is going to come on at some point tomorrow, and we'll get a chance to talk a little bit more Lakers, Brooklyn, everything else. We'll see what else is going on in the world of sports. We'll preview a little bit of the upcoming games for the Lakers, Brooklyn, and the Clippers. I think Clippers are actually an interesting conversation for tomorrow. And then the last thing we'll do as well is we'll talk some NFL as we get ready for the weekend and that Rams-Eagles game and everybody else that's involved in it. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate you guys coming on. It's kind of funny. The shows where I'm like, I don't really know if I got that many topics are typically end up being the best shows because we just shoot the shit. So thank you very much for being part of the show. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll be back tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Thanks, everybody.